Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm going to be taking a look at a new Diatone model, the GT-M205. Now when I first saw this guy I wondered what it was competing against because Diatone already has the very popular GT-R90. However, there are a fair few differences. First of all, even though it's the GT-M2, which I thought was for 2-inch, it's actually running 1.9-inch propellers, so it's come with the GEM Fan 1940 propellers, and I actually tried to fit the 2-inch Hulky propellers on there and it would catch on the stack here. So yeah, it's actually a 1.9-inch model, and I guess this is just Diatone trying to have a model of every size. So we've got a 2-inch, we've got a 3-inch, and we have got multiple 5 inches. And I think what they have been doing over the time is just refining this stack that we've got here. And yeah, it's a different stack to this one. So we have got the 25 amp 4-in-1 ESC board, and it has got a built-in current meter. And then we have got the Fury F4 flight controller, and that has got the MPU 6000 gyro on there. It's come flash with Betaflight version 3.3, and it also has Betaflight on-screen display. They have put their own custom settings in there, custom PIDs, custom rates, absolutely everything. The idea is that you just plug your receiver into it and fly. So this was the plug and fly version, so I've added this little D8 receiver in here. It just comes with a 4-pin 1mm pitch JST cable, which I have switched out for a 3-pin one for this receiver. I think the only receiver that will plug directly into this would be the A8S for FlySky. So then the VTX, it is the 5-volt Unify, so they have been doing a lot of work on the quality of the video on this VTX, because when I reviewed the GT-M3 I wasn't happy with it and there was noise all over it, and they made an update to it and that improved it, and they've made another update to this one. So you can see we have got a little capacitor here on the 5-volt rail of the flight controller, and then another capacitor here, and the Unify is actually built into its own circuit board here, and we've got other components on there as well, and it just plugs in. So the Unify is actually plugged into a linear antenna up here. One thing I don't like that they do is they use a cable tie to hold it down, and then of course if you have to remove this top for any reason it rips the antenna off the UFL. I would still like to see a better solution for that. This is a very early version as well, by the way, and when the M205 comes out it's actually going to have a proper run cam, because these cameras are okay but the run cam micros are better. A problem with these generic cameras that they use is the circuit board is a little bit wider than the run cam, and the back of it catches this metal frame here, so you're kind of stuck at that angle unless you undo this screw here and move it down one, but then you're stuck at a flatter angle. So just ignore this because they're going to be putting a proper run cam micro on there. So you get given a battery strap here, and you have to feed that through. You're actually given a couple of those, and you're given a silicon mat as well. The thing is, this silicon mat they're using for all of their micros, and these screws do protrude out a little bit, so it's not working to its full potential there, so that's a bit of feedback that I would give. The motors are exactly the same as the GT-R90, so they are Diatone branded, and they are an 1104 6000 kV, and this system can run a 3 to 4S. However, they are advising that you run it on a 3S. It's tuned for a 3S, and when I did my tests on the GT-R90 in the past, it turned out that a 4S actually really wasn't that much more beneficial. Now you might be thinking 550 milliamp 3S, so yeah, it doesn't come with this, you have to buy it yourself. You might be thinking that's a pretty heavy battery for this size model, and you'd be right. However, if you want to go 4S, then This is probably about the smallest 4S you can go. I mean, there's probably smaller ones, but 450 milliamp Tattoo 75C. This weighs 1 more gram than this. Now, it does not have an LED board or a buzzer, but it does have a connection for a buzzer. I don't know why they don't connect them out of the box, because you can see in there it just plugs in. We've also got a XT30 connector. It's the opposite of this one, so I guess maybe that's for your charger. We have got a spare cable in there for the flight controller cable ties, and we've also got some spare screws as well for this stack. And you're given these screws here for the props to go on as well. So despite this metal frame around here, which by the way is exactly the same one as the GT-M3, it just looks smaller because the arms are smaller. This is a unibody, by the way. We have got camera protection up the front, and I think this would fare much better in a crash than the GT-R90, because this carbon here is fairly weak and this is just really strong. It weighs just 79 grams, which is only a couple of grams more than the GT-R90. I do think the GT-R90 is going to be a slightly better performer because it's slightly lighter and we've got the bigger props. But that's not really the point of these 2-inch or sub 2-inch models. The point is to be able to fly around and have fun and not cause too much bother whilst doing it. So I've kept these set up as close to stock as I possibly could. They have the battery graphic on there, you know, the really long one that shows you how much battery you've got left. I find that so distracting, so I just had to turn that off. But I left everything else on the on-screen display the same. They had set RSSI up on aux 12, but then not turned RSSI on the on-screen display. I've left it as it is, but I thought that was strange that they had done that. So yeah, it's set up for D-Shot 600. The digital idle was set to 5. I've bumped that up to 6 so you don't get any flips of death. I've put my own rates in there, but I've left their PIDs and I've left absolutely everything else. Okay, let's have a quick go of this thing. Managed to get it out of the grass. Actually cutting the grass today. So I've got 550 milliamp 3S battery. Let's check out the punch. Not bad at all. Not bad at all for those 1.9 inch propellers. Didn't hear any oscillation there. Of course, it's not going to be as powerful as the 3-inch version, but you know, it's got some great features, this thing, for its size. Right, let's have a quick go of acro. It's really quite difficult to see because it's so small. I'll try and keep it in as close as possible, but it's difficult. So line of sight, it seems the tune is okay. No oscillations or anything like that. It's really the main thing I'm looking for. Yeah, sounds like smooth power delivery, really high revving on the motors. Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice one. It's performing well. Oh, trying my best to keep it in close. It is really tiny. It's funny, even though it's basically the same cage as the 3-inch. It looks smaller, it's deceiving. This is what it's about. nice weather, and flying your micros. Anyways, I guess I better bring it in and do some FPV. I'll just flick him into angle just to make sure there's no drift. Yeah, there's no drift, but the grass cutter's coming back, so I'll come in for a landing. So I know you guys are gonna want to see how it performs on a 4S. So this is the 450 milliamp 4S, and let's go for a punch. Yeah, I really cannot notice the difference, and it's odd really. Usually you can notice it so much between a 3 and a 4S, but all it's doing is making more noise, and it's not really going any faster. So there you go. One thing I will say though is that I'm not hearing any oscillations on the 4S. You know, this battery, very similar weight to the 3S, so maybe that is why. Try and keep it in close for you guys. Yeah, it's more noisy on the 4S. But you know, if you want to go that way, it will do it, but you'll get a much better flight time on a 3S and very, very similar performance, I think. Just say though, I don't know, it's feeling maybe a little bit more locked on the 4S. So yeah, that is going to be the thing when going between 3 and 4S. You probably will have to change the tune a little bit. But yeah, as I suspected, not really noticing any difference. Oh man, it's a heap of fun though. It's still a heap of fun. Right. Let's bring it in.
So let's take a look at some DVR footage, and first of all, the starting voltage says 12.8 volts. That should be 12.6, so they have messed with the voltage scaling and it's just a couple of points out. But when I plugged the 4S battery in, it was still only 2 points out, so I thought I'd leave it because it remained fairly accurate. So I'm checking out the tune. And this is the 3S 550 milliamp battery, and it's had like 100 cycles through it, but it's still performing well, and the tune's a little bit too loose for my liking. I know why they've done it, because you can plug a 4S battery into this as well, and you won't get oscillations. But for me, really, I think you want to pick the battery that is most suitable for this model and then tune towards that. And I understand that, you know, a lot of people are going to be buying this and they're going to be throwing on different batteries, and yes, it will fly with a 3 or a 4S on there, but for me, the tune was a little bit loose for both of the batteries. Just look how clean this video feed is though, and all I have to say to Diatone on that is bravo. I mean, you know, this is a Unify capable of 800 milliwatt. I mean, we don't really need 800 milliwatt on a model like this, but hey, this system is really working now, and I hope that they put it on all of their models across the board. The voltage warning is flashing because I've just got the stock values in there that they left, and it's set a little bit too high, so I would change that personally. Also, it says Diatone GT-R90 up the top as well. I guess they've left the GT-R90 flash on there. A little bit confusing. This is the M205. So you can see the current reading there, 400, 500 milliamp. So I would say that's fairly accurate with this being a 550 milliamp battery. So that's good to see. And a 5-minute flight time almost with that old battery. So this is the 4S, and check out the starting voltage, 17 volts. It should be 16.8, but again, you know, just a couple of points out there. I'm leaving it because, again, it's remaining accurate. Now, when I flew line of sight, the copter felt more locked in, but actually with FPV, only a tiny bit, I would say. And it still felt pretty loose to me. The amp draw is going up to 25 amps, so it is drawing more amps than the 3-cell battery, but again, I didn't really feel the difference in power. I guess those small props, you really have to spin them up a lot quicker to notice the difference. And I should say this is a brand new 450 milliamp 4S battery. I think this is its 3rd cycle, and it did perform really well. I got a 4-minute flight time, but I do think that that would decrease as we have more cycles being put through it. But with it just drawing 25 amps, I would say that this system is actually over-spec'd, because that's 25 amps overall, and we've got 25 amp ESCs that can individually do 25 amps. However, this system seems to work really well, and they can just throw it in the GT-M3, which has got a bigger prop and draws more amps, and it will perform well. So yeah, can't really complain about this system. So you can see nearly a 4-minute flight time on that battery, and it's flashing at 400 milliamps. So again, fairly accurate, but I think I would still stick with a 3S myself. So I'll put a link in the description if you wish to get one, and as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.